It's a story we did a number of interviews about here on Windsor Morning last fall, and just yesterday, the issue reached Queen's Park.
Premier, due to lack of mental health supports in Windsor for children and youth with complex needs, parents are surrendering their children to the Children's Aid Society, hoping much-needed help will finally be given. In some cases, the families are being forced to send their kids up the 401 to London or else to Craig, where they get put on a wait list for supports. With no foster families to support their complex needs, kids, some as young as 6 years old, are put in unlicensed placements, a hotel speaker. Some kids will age out before they ever get the help they need. Some kids are being trafficked, and some are being targeted by drug dealers. Speaker, this is a very dire situation in my community and communities around the province. We should not have to send children from Windsor to London or else to Craig or anywhere outside our community to get the supports and services they need. It is absolutely despicable. So when will the Premier act to ensure that children and youth with complex needs in Windsor have the mental health supports they need in Windsor?
The Associate Minister of Mental Health and Addictions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the member opposite for that important question. If she's had an opportunity to read the Roadmap to Wellness, you'll see that we're building a plan for the province of Ontario and focused on children and youth, focused on adults, focused on seniors. And in the process of doing that, we've invested $525 million annually and will continue to do so. Mr. Speaker, we're focused on children and youth. We know how important it is to invest in the children and youth to ensure that they get the supports they need so that as adults they can live their lives the way everyone else does. And those investments are being made, whether it be through the pediatric fund that was created. It was just announced by the Premier and the Minister of Health. Whether it be through the nearly $500 million that was invested, and we continue to invest in children and youth. There's a lot of work to be done, but we are making progress, and we are building a system that is making a difference in the lives of everyone and providing services in each of the areas where people live throughout the province.
We've invited Derrick Drouillard to our show this morning to tell us the latest on the situation. He's the Executive Director of Windsor Essex Children's Aid Society. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
You were shaking your head a lot during that clip. What's going on?
The reference that Minister Tabolo was talking about in terms of those investments, while I'm sure appreciated and great by many, are not the investments that are having the positive impact or any impact for the subset of children and youth that we're talking about with these high acuity complex needs. Those are children and youth who don't have the cognitive or capacity in some instances for talking therapies, for mental health walk-in clinics, for virtual clinics. These are children and youth who have a very unique needs, so their interventions need to be uniquely tailored to meet those needs. And those investments, they certainly haven't trickled their way down to Windsor-Essex area, and I would argue are not the kinds of investments or the kinds of interventions and programs that will address the crisis for these children and youth that we're serving.
What was your initial reaction when you heard Windsor West MPP Lisa Gretzky talking at Queen's Park yesterday?
You know, I was grateful for the fact that the subject and the crisis has reached the level of being spoken to at Parliament, and so certainly there's a few scenarios here. One, that some families are feeling that they are unable in the circumstance to provide the care they need for their children and youth who are having these complex needs because it doesn't exist in the community to the level that they require it. Other times, I would say, if a child is required to come into alternative care, and Children's Aid Societies don't want to bring children into care. We want to work with children and families in the community, with their kin, with their community partners. But in the circumstance where a child must come into care, we become the de facto guardian of that child, a Children's Aid Society does. So we are now demanding that these children and youth get the services, support, and resources, placements that they need. And I don't want to confuse the listeners to suggest that I'm a big proponent of children growing up in institutions or group homes, but we need a period of time to help stabilize their behaviors, the issues, get to know them, what makes them tick. It's like being able to go to the system and open a pantry and pull off the pantry the individualized things that this particular child or youth requires. And so as the parent, guardian of these children and youth, we're saying this is a colossal failure of the system. And it's actually, for me, it feels like a charter right issue. Children with disabilities have the right, not an earned right, not a right that they have to prove, but a right to have the access to the services, the supports, proper placements that they need.
How has the situation in the hotel changed since we last spoke 4 months ago?
Sadly, it's not improving. We ride a bit of a roller coaster around numbers. So you might have 6 at one time, and we find some placements, and those placements are generally within what we call the outside paid resources. Those are the for-profit organizations that provide placements for children and youth. And then we get another couple of 3 children come in our door. These, again, are situations that are normally unexpected, are children and youth that maybe we've worked with in the past, but we currently aren't, and here we are now stuck with them. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. We're not stuck with them. Here we are trying to service them as the best we can.
How young?
The youngest right now is 5.
Yeah.
And so what we're saying is that for the system, we need a cross-ministerial approach to manage this. We've admired this problem way too long. We know what the concerns and issues are. And it seems to me the ministries have a vast army of analysts at their disposal. I'm confused how they haven't been able to actually figure this out yet.
So since we met, I started almost a spreadsheet trying to find what resources are we getting down here in Windsor. And it surprised me, although it won't surprise you because you live it every day. But it seemed the resources basically end at London, Elsie Craig, and maybe not even into Sarnia. But there's sort of this desert. How frustrating is that to try and make people understand that you're giving these investments, but not necessarily, we're not seeing them here?
Yeah, it's exceptionally frustrating. And I feel so much for those parents and caregivers who are doing their very best to hang in there. And they're screaming, we need help, we need support. We can't manage this behavior. We can't manage these circumstances without intense in-home supports and relief and respite and other and proper assessments. And so that's where we find the situations where the parents are faced with their own capacity being so dwindled that they can't manage. And also they have other children in their home. They have jobs. They're trying their best to survive. And without a response from the system to support them, they are turning to children's aid societies. A child protection agency is not the agency to be managing complex special needs and mental health issues for children and youth. We are the agency that is there to support the safety and well-being of children, but we don't have the resources, capacity, training, infrastructure to create placements. We don't have the proper facilities to care for children and youth and who have complex special needs. And so the fact that we have this desert, as you aptly described it, in Windsor, Essex, should be alarming to our community.
All right, Derrick, we have to leave it there because of time, but I know our conversation is not done on this. So thank you for coming in this morning.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Derrick Drouillard is the Executive Director of the Windsor Essex Children's Aid Society. The time